Hey there, nightmare seekers. Welcome back to Silent Screams, where we dive deep into the darkest corners of the human psyche. Tonight's tale is a special one, pulled from the depths of our Nocturnal Terrors, a Symphony of Nightmares anthology. So dim the lights, check under your bed, and prepare yourself for a journey you won't soon forget. Sweet dreams, if you can still sleep after this. I never should have opened that old trunk in my grandmother's attic. The musty smell of aged wood and forgotten memories filled my nostrils as I lifted the creaking lid. Among the yellowed photographs and tarnished trinkets, a small, leather-bound book caught my eye. Its spine was cracked, and the pages were brittle with age. As I carefully opened it, a slip of paper fluttered to the floor. "Read at your own peril," it said in faded, spidery handwriting. "Some doors, once opened, can never be closed." I should have heeded that warning. But curiosity got the better of me, and I began to read. The journal belonged to my great-great-grandfather, a man I'd only heard whispers about in hushed family conversations. As I delved into his account, I realized why his name was rarely spoken. It started innocently enough. He wrote of strange dreams that plagued him after moving into an old Victorian house on the outskirts of town. Dreams of shadowy figures that watched him from corners and whispered in languages he couldn't understand. "They're getting closer," one entry read. "Last night, I swore I felt cold fingers brush against my cheek as I slept. When I woke, the indentation of a hand was visible on my pillow." I shuddered, feeling a chill run down my spine. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the attic windows. I told myself it was just a coincidence, but a nagging fear began to grow in the pit of my stomach. As I read on, his entries became more frantic, the handwriting more erratic. He spoke of rituals performed in the basement, of summoning things that should not be named. The pages were stained with what looked unsettlingly like dried blood. "I've made a terrible mistake," he wrote. "They're no longer confined to my dreams. I see them in the waking world now, always in the corners of my vision. Waiting, watching, hungry." My hands trembled as I turned the page. The next entry was dated 3 days later. "They took Margaret last night. My sweet, innocent daughter. I heard her scream, but when I reached her room, there was nothing but a dark stain on the floor and claw marks on the walls. God forgive me for what I've unleashed." I slammed the book shut, my heart pounding. Margaret. That was my grandmother's name. The grandmother whose attic I was currently sitting in, surrounded by the possessions of generations past. As if on cue, the attic door creaked open behind me. I spun around, expecting to see my mom calling me down for dinner. Instead, I was met with an impenetrable darkness that seemed to pulse and writhe. "Hello?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. "Is anyone there?" A low, guttural growl answered me. Something moved in the shadows, something that walked on too many legs and had too many eyes. I scrambled backward, knocking over boxes and sending dust flying into the air. My back hit the wall, and I realized with horror that I was trapped. The thing in the doorway moved closer, its form shifting and changing with each step. I could smell its breath now, fetid and ancient. "You opened the door," it said in a voice that sounded like 1,000 whispers layered on top of each other. "Just like your ancestor before you. We've been waiting so long for another invitation." I wanted to scream, to run, to wake up from this nightmare. But I was frozen in place, watching as more shapes emerged from the darkness behind the first creature. What are you?" I managed to choke out. The thing tilted what I assumed was its head, regarding me with alien curiosity. "We are the ones who wait in the spaces between. The forgotten gods, the nameless horrors. And now, thanks to you, we're hungry again." It reached out with a limb that was neither arm nor tentacle, its touch icy against my skin. I felt something deep inside me begin to unravel, as if my very soul was being pulled apart thread by thread. "Your family has such a delicious legacy of fear," it hissed. "We're going to enjoy this immensely." As the creatures closed in around me, their forms twisting and melding together into a writhing mass of darkness, I had one last coherent thought: I should have listened to the warning. The attic dissolved into a swirling vortex of nightmares and impossible geometries. I felt myself being pulled in 1,000 directions at once, my mind struggling to comprehend the horrors surrounding me. Suddenly, I was no longer in the attic. I found myself standing in a long, dimly lit corridor. The walls seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, and distant screams echoed from somewhere ahead. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling. "Is anyone there?" A figure appeared at the end of the hallway, backlit by a sickly green glow. As it moved closer, I realized with growing horror that it was my grandmother, or rather, something wearing her face like an ill-fitting mask. "We've been waiting for you, dear," it said in a voice that was both familiar and terrifyingly wrong. "It's time for you to join the family reunion." I turned to run, only to find the corridor behind me had vanished, replaced by a writhing mass of tentacles and eyes. There was nowhere to go but forward, towards the thing that wasn't my grandmother. As I reluctantly moved closer, the walls began to bleed, thick black ichor oozing from between the cracks. The floor beneath my feet softened, becoming spongy and alive. "What is this place?" I asked, trying to keep the panic from my voice. The creature wearing my grandmother's face smiled, its teeth too sharp and too numerous. "This is the in-between, child. The place where nightmares are born and reality unravels. Your great-great-grandfather opened the door, and now you've flung it wide open." I shook my head, desperately trying to wake up from this nightmare. "No, this isn't real. It can't be." The thing laughed, a sound like breaking glass and screaming winds. "Oh, but it is. More real than you can possibly imagine. And now, you're part of it." The corridor began to twist and warp around us, impossible angles and non-Euclidean geometry making my head spin. I felt something fundamental inside me begin to change, as if the very fabric of my being was being rewritten. "Stop!" I screamed. "Please, I want to go home." "But you are home," the creature replied, its form shifting and melting into something indescribable. "This is where you've always belonged. You just didn't know it yet." As the world dissolved into chaos around me, I caught glimpses of other scenes, my parents frantically searching the attic, police combing through the woods behind our house, missing person posters with my face plastered on them. But they all felt distant, like memories from another life. I don't know how long I've been here in this place beyond time and space. The horrors I've witnessed defy description, and I fear I'm no longer entirely human. But sometimes, in quiet moments between the madness, I remember who I once was. If you're reading this, consider it a warning. Be careful what doors you open, what ancient secrets you unearth. Because some things, once awakened, can never be put back to sleep. And they're always hungry for more. I think I hear them coming again. The whispers are getting louder, and the shadows are moving in ways they shouldn't. I don't know how much longer I can. I don't know how long it's been since my last entry. Time has no meaning here in this twisted realm. But I've managed to find a moment of clarity, a brief respite from the endless parade of horrors. I have to warn you, to tell you what I've seen, what I've become. The being that wore my grandmother's face was only the beginning. As I was pulled deeper into this nightmare world, I encountered things that defy description, creatures born from the collective fears of humanity, given form in this place where reality bends to the will of terror. I've seen forests where the trees have eyes and the ground pulsates with hidden life. I've walked through cities where the buildings are made of flesh and bone, their windows weeping blood. And always, there are the whispers, promises of power, of knowledge beyond mortal comprehension, if only I'd given completely. But I resist. I cling to what's left of my humanity, even as I feel it slipping away with each passing moment. There are others here, lost souls like me who stumbled into this realm through various means, cursed objects, forbidden rituals, or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time. We try to band together when we can, but it's dangerous. The entities that rule this place, the ones my great-great-grandfather foolishly summoned, they feed on our fear and our bonds. I met a woman named Sarah yesterday, or what passes for yesterday in this timeless hell. She told me she'd been here for what felt like centuries, trapped after reading an incantation from an ancient tome she'd found in a second-hand bookshop. "They'll wear you down," she warned me, her eyes wild and unfocused. "Chip away at your sanity until you're nothing but a hollow shell, a puppet for them to play with." As she spoke, I noticed movement beneath her skin, as if something was crawling just beneath the surface. She caught me staring and smiled sadly. "It's too late for me," she whispered. "But maybe you can still find a way out." Before I could respond, a tendril of darkness wrapped around her ankle, dragging her screaming into the shadows. I haven't seen her since. I'm starting to understand the true nature of this place now. It's not just a realm of nightmares, it's a living, breathing entity that feeds on fear and suffering. The more terror we experience, the stronger it becomes. And it's always hungry for more. Last night, if you can call it night in a place of eternal twilight, I stumbled upon what looked like a normal suburban home. For a moment, I dared to hope I'd found a way back to my world. I approached the front door, my heart pounding with anticipation. As I reached for the doorknob, I heard a child's laughter from inside. It sounded so pure, so innocent, a stark contrast to the horrors I'd been experiencing. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The interior was exactly what you'd expect from a typical family home. Family photos on the walls, a cozy living room with a TV playing cartoons, the smell of dinner cooking in the kitchen. It all seemed so normal that I nearly wept with relief. Then I saw the family. They were gathered around the dining table, frozen in tableau like some twisted Norman Rockwell painting. But their faces, dear God, their faces. Where eyes should have been, there were only empty, weeping sockets. Their mouths were stretched impossibly wide in silent screams, lipless and filled with rows upon rows of needle-sharp teeth. As I stood there, paralyzed with horror, they all turned to look at me in perfect unison. The child, a little girl no more than 6 or 7, spoke in a voice that sounded like screeching metal. "Won't you join us for dinner?" she asked, her eyeless face regarding me with hideous curiosity. "We've been waiting for you." I ran until my lungs burned and my legs gave out beneath me. But no matter how far I went, I could still hear that child's laughter echoing in my ears. This place is testing me, wearing me down. I can feel my grip on reality slipping with each passing moment. The lines between what's real and what's nightmare are blurring, and I'm terrified of what I might become if I lose myself completely. But I won't give up. I can't. There has to be a way out, a way to close the door my ancestor opened all those years ago. I've been searching for clues, piecing together fragments of information from the other lost souls I've encountered. There are whispers of an artifact, a key of sorts that can seal the boundaries between worlds. But finding it won't be easy. The entities that rule this realm guard their secrets jealously, and they don't take kindly to the idea of losing their playthings. I've made a decision. I'm going to find that key, no matter the cost. Even if it means delving deeper into the horrors of this place, facing terrors beyond imagination. Because the alternative, an eternity trapped here, slowly losing my humanity, is too horrifying to contemplate. If you're reading this, know that the danger is real. The veil between our world and this nightmare realm is thin, and there are always things waiting in the shadows, looking for a way in. Be careful what doors you open, what ancient secrets you unearth. Because once you've seen what lies beyond, you can never truly unsee it. I don't know if I'll be able to write again. The moments of clarity are becoming fewer and farther between. But I'll keep fighting, keep searching for a way out. And if I can't save myself, maybe I can at least warn others. Remember my story. And whatever you do, don't make the same mistakes I did. The journal entries become more fragmented and disjointed, filled with strange symbols and diagrams. The final page contains a single, chilling sentence. I've found the key. God help me, I've found it. But I'm not alone. The writing trails off into an illegible scrawl, the page stained with what looks unsettlingly like blood. Asterisk, 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 the old trunk creaked shut, stirring up clouds of dust in the dim attic light. I sat back on my heels, my heart pounding as I tried to process what I'd just read. It couldn't be real, could it? Just the ramblings of a disturbed mind, a family secret best left buried in the past. But as I moved to stand up, something caught my eye. There, half hidden beneath a pile of old newspapers, was a small, ornate key. It looked ancient, its metal tarnished and covered in strange, swirling symbols. My hand trembled as I reached for it. The moment my fingers touched the cool metal, a jolt of energy surged through me. The attic around me seemed to flicker, like reality itself was struggling to maintain its shape. For just a moment, I caught a glimpse of something else, a world of twisted shadows and impossible geometry, of creatures that defied description. And in the distance, a figure that looked unsettlingly like the author of the journal, reaching out to me with desperate eyes. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the vision was gone. I was back in the dusty attic, the key clutched tightly in my sweating palm. But something had changed. The shadows in the corners seemed deeper somehow, more alive. And I could have sworn I heard the faintest whisper, a voice that sounded both alien and horrifyingly familiar. "Welcome home," it seemed to say. "We've been waiting for you." I stood frozen, caught between the urge to flee and a morbid curiosity about what I'd uncovered. The key felt heavy in my hand, pulsing with an energy that both terrified and enticed me. What doors could this key open? What nightmares lay waiting on the other side? As I stood there, wrestling with my decision, I realized that the true horror wasn't just the possibility of other realms filled with unimaginable terrors. It was the knowledge that sometimes, the darkest monsters are the ones we carry within ourselves, the curiosity that drives us to open doors best left closed, the hubris that makes us think we can control forces beyond our comprehension. I had a choice to make. I could put the key back, try to forget what I'd learned, and go on with my life. Or I could take that first step into the unknown, knowing that there might be no coming back. My fingers tightened around the key as I made my decision. Whatever horrors awaited, whatever price I might have to pay, I knew I couldn't live with the uncertainty. I had to know the truth, had to see for myself what lay beyond the veil of our reality. With a deep breath, I raised the key, searching for a lock that I somehow knew would be there, waiting for me. As I prepared to take that irrevocable step, I sent out a silent apology to those I might be leaving behind. The key slid into an invisible lock, and I felt reality shift around me. The attic dissolved, replaced by that swirling vortex of nightmares I'd glimpsed before. As I was pulled into that other world, one final thought echoed through my mind: some doors, once opened, can never truly be closed again. And now, like my ancestor before me, I've become both victim and scribe of this eternal nightmare. If you're reading this, consider it your final warning. The horrors are real, the danger ever present. The choice is yours. But remember, curiosity has a price, and some questions are better left unanswered.